Aaron Tuttle here. It's storm season in Oklahoma, and with that comes torrential rain, high winds, and hail. To protect your home and your family from these threats, the one roofing company you should trust is Ferguson Roof Systems. They've been providing the best in roofing services for nearly half a century. Ferguson is Oklahoma's full-service roofing company, certified with an A+ Better Business Bureau rating and a 5-star rating on Google. And with Ferguson now offering Class 4 impact-resistant shingles, now is the time to trust them with your home's roof. Get started today at FergusonRoofSystems.com.
Hey everyone, Meteorologist Aaron Tuttle back with you again. It is Tuesday evening on the 28th of May. What time is it? I don't know, what time is it? 9:37. All right, let's get this party on the road. Party on the road, show on the road. Party to go. Man, my brain has not been working the last 2 days. I still need some more R&R. That's for sure. We're still going to have some more storms to talk about. We'll see if those are going to be the nasty kind or something that is maybe doable. So thanks for joining me out there in the weather world of Twitter X, also on Rumble and on Facebook and on YouTube. All right. Good to see you guys checking in from where you're from. Putting in the word. I know, Nicole, we do not want to hear that dirty word, tornado. Sean, we'll see. Came back from the gym, so that'll get you going. If you can drag yourself to the gym, even if you're tired, you get the blood pumping, it'll wake you up. So that's always a fix, even though you don't feel like doing it, right? All right, let's take a look and see what's going on here for you. Let me get my maps loaded up. Oh, let me put the real quick before I do that. I'm going to put the comments or my stuff here in the comments section. So some of you joined the, especially on Facebook, join that Facebook broadcast channel. I'll put it in here in the comments again. That way you can get notifications when I go live through your instant messenger. And you guys on Rumble, you can do it too. There's also a way you can support me on there as well. And then same thing for X. All right. Okay, so that's everything I wanted to do. I can put it on. I don't know if this works on YouTube, but no, it doesn't like all that chit chat. All right, let's leave it off. Okay, so that's done. All right, I can tell you, man, I'm just not with it. Like, period. I can tell my brain's not working. Let's put it that way. Let's take a look outside. It's sticky again. It's muggy. It's 73 degrees in my backyard. And should have had just a few sprinkles rolling by. We've had some showers and thunderstorms out across western Oklahoma. As those have traveled to the east, they have fallen apart. You can take a look at the radar view right now, and you can see those showers down here across the southwestern quadrant of the state. Now, there is one little thunderstorm down here just south of Velma. A couple lightning strikes with that little area from Duncan to Comanche, Waurika, Bryan, and Terrell, and points to the east. But this is not severe. It's just some light rain to moderate rain, a little bit of thunder. And there's other rain that continues on up to the southwest corner of the metro from Tuttle to Mustang to El Reno, and then back out to northwest Oklahoma, and that's it. So that's all that's left of some thunderstorms that were pretty beefy when they were in the Texas Panhandle, but kind of fell apart as they traveled to the east. We discussed that at noontime today. I wasn't for sure. I said about 10 o'clock they should start to arrive, but I'm not so sure they're going to hold together, and sure enough, they're falling apart here, at least on the northern fringe. But you guys down south will still get a little more action. And down in Dallas, you're going to get some more action too tonight. We'll talk about you here as well in just a minute. Temperatures out there today, though, are pretty nice. We did hit into mostly 80s, but if you look hard enough, not too hard, you do see some 70s out there. So that is what I'm talking about. If you can round out the month of May into some 70s, that's pretty good stuff, right? All right, here's a look at the satellite viewpoint. I want to show you that we're kind of in an active rut, if you want to call it that, but we're going to have a lot of showers and storms pretty much lining up from around the slopes of Colorado, New Mexico, back into West Texas, even down in Mexico, kind of in this zone here. So this is going to be our hot zone all week long. We're going to have occasional rounds of showers and storms that will develop. Some of these will just move east. Some of them will travel from northwest to southeast. There'll be different configurations. But needless to say, we're going to be getting some good rainfall. So if you needed some rain, we're in good shape. Now, if you want severe weather, the best, really next good chance of severe storms will be on Thursday. We'll probably have a pretty good line of storms, and even though the slight risk is drawn out here to the west, I could easily see it like this by the time we head into Thursday, just a heads up. And that would be for some damaging straight line winds that come down this fashion, or storms that come in off the west, move east, and then another round. So I have a couple of rounds. The models are a little goofy on how they want to model Thursday, but point being is we should have some action. Let's see. If we go to, what I want to show you. Oh, the AI model also for Thursday does favor a little bit of a tornado risk out here in the green area across eastern Colorado, the western half of Oklahoma, Kansas, and into West Texas as well. Otherwise, there's the hail and there's the wind. Now, if you notice these charts, I mean, the scale obviously goes way over here to the right. If you notice, these are all tepid colors. They're in the lower end of the scale on all this stuff. And that's just what happens when you start to exit spring and get into summer. The indices aren't off the charts, and if the indices aren't off the charts, then the models don't get all excited. Let's take a look at the jet stream pattern. Now, what we're going to be stuck in, we talked about, is kind of a west, let's use the red color here, kind of a southwest flow that kind of pumps up over a ridge down here across Mexico. All right, and then we'll kind of transition to a westerly flow, and eventually by early June, we'll transition to a northwesterly flow. But the bottom line is we got a lot of instability that rotates in this pattern, just one after another. And we'll kind of just show you how this puts into motion. I'll just press play. You can see how there's a big batch here, and this is for Tuesday. Here's another batch here, and here, and here. She's popping up. You see how they kind of just keep on coming in. So we're going to have multiple rounds, and it's going to be kind of difficult to time each round, and each round will depend upon prior rounds. This just takes you on to Thursday evening. This is a lot of lift right here. That's a pretty good indication for Thursday night storms into Friday morning. Okay, so let's look also at the low levels, at the 700 millibar level. These you can time a little bit better. So for example, there's all the bright red equals where you have lift in the atmosphere. So through overnight tonight, it still kind of favors this area here. We go into the morning hours, so still a little bit here in central Oklahoma, but mostly the southern half of the state through tomorrow morning, Wednesday. All right, let's see, and that kind of starts to diminish by noontime. A little bit of activity up here in northeast Oklahoma, and also here in southeast Oklahoma for tomorrow afternoon. And let's see, let's go to Thursday. So Thursday should be a big signal. So there's Wednesday night, by the way, into Thursday morning. There's already a signal going on down here across North Texas and southern Oklahoma. And then there's Thursday mid-afternoon to late afternoon. There's another signal kind of bouncing around up here. Then here's a big signal out here. Looks like that'll come in for Thursday night. There we go. And that'll send some big storms down this way as well. So you see how this just kind of they're all over the place. You're just going to have to deal with it, just scattered stuff. If we need obviously instability, and we need some shear around the area. So I'm going to put in motion for you the European model. This will go through to early next week. And first, I want you to focus on the fact that a lot of the instability kind of anchors into Texas. All right. And then every now and then we'll get some of those brighter colors here in Oklahoma for about a day or two, but most of the extreme instability will be kind of peppered across the Lone Star State. It'll get knocked down as you get those thunderstorms that develop, because obviously that stabilizes the atmosphere and precludes another round of severe storms until it can recover. So let's take a look at 2 key days for Oklahoma. So here's Thursday. So there's 18Z, there's 21. Anything better than that? No. Okay. So depending on how things go on Thursday, we do have a nice tongue of instability comes in across the Texas Panhandle. It depends on if we get some storms Thursday morning. If we don't, then we'll have these colors in here, which basically means Cape values up around 3,000 joules per kilogram. So that'll be a good day for severe storms. And again, we're talking about hail and wind for most of this week. I'm assuming at some point there'll be a tornado that gets thrown in there. But for the most part, it's going to be hail and wind. If you look at Sunday, more instability kind of shows up here in Oklahoma. And then if you look into Monday, that's probably the most potent day in the short term. And there you go. There's some Cape values here up around 5,000 joules across all of central and western Oklahoma also. And then beyond that, there's another signal there for Tuesday of next week. Cape values up around 6,000. Now, that's just basically a measure of potential energy in the atmosphere. Anytime you get Cape values over 4,000, those storms can go big, go fast, go ugly. So just kind of heads up. That's where we get some of our big wind and hail makers when that happens. All right, so look at some model output. We'll go to the Texas Tech WRF, and we'll see how that kind of transpires here. So it's got those showers we talked about earlier, kind of moving into southern Oklahoma now. So that model did pick up on the fact that they will be diminishing. It does have some additional stuff in northwest and western Oklahoma overnight, but very, very weak. Stronger stuff, there you go, in the Texas Panhandle. As we get into the morning hours for Dallas-Fort Worth, that little batch of storms looks to come in, but starts to fizzle, according to this model. We'll see if other ones do. But then it has a secondary surge that comes in probably around lunchtime tomorrow in Dallas instead. Some of these have helicity tracks, these little red areas, which indicates hail and wind in this environment. That kind of skips through southern Oklahoma. Some additional scatter stuff that pops up here in north central and east central Oklahoma, and there's that area we talked about in northeast Oklahoma also for tomorrow afternoon. All right, that zips on by, so some additional activity there for you guys in Tulsa, etc. And then here is Thursday morning. This particular model loves another complex down here in North Texas, so Dallas-Fort Worth, another day of hail and wind in the morning hours. Hopefully not a repeat of what you saw this morning. You had flash flooding, you had up to baseball-sized hail, you had widespread 70-mile-per-hour winds, even a couple of tornadoes. That's for the birds. All right, so we head into the afternoon. Things quiet down. The new development coming up here across eastern Colorado, Kansas, the Panhandle. This will be a big cluster then that moves in south and east overnight on Thursday, according to this particular model. And we have a couple of others, and each one's going to have a little slightly different look. So let's look at them all, because I just now pulling this data up myself. So here's a look at tonight. Okay, same idea. Things fall apart here. Keep going out in the Panhandle region. Let's see, by 8 a.m., 9, 10, it does have some thunderstorms here in North Texas. Then by lunchtime, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, there's that big line of storms starting to go through Dallas-Fort Worth here at the bottom of your map. So a lot of this, again, will be some wind and some hail for you guys. And then let's go to the afternoon hours. So here's 2, 3 o'clock. See, not a whole lot of rain here in Oklahoma City. There's more of those scattered showers and storms there in northeast Oklahoma during tomorrow evening. And then on Thursday, a different look with this particular model. More storms down there for North Texas again for early morning hours for Thursday. Some of those are pretty beefy, 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning. So more of the same hail and wind down there in North Texas. Scattered isolated stuff elsewhere across Oklahoma to Thursday morning. And then we head into Thursday. Let's see. There's noontime. All right. And then here's late afternoon and evening. There's that little signal of some cluster of storms in Kansas moving through eastward versus southeastward and falling apart. And then it doesn't really do much with that secondary cluster. I think this will probably be an error. We'll see. Let me look at the HRRR. See what it does. All right, so this stuff moves again tonight, falls apart. The Panhandle still looks a little excited. Pretty quiet for tomorrow. So this model is very dry, very boring. There's some big storms there for Thursday midnight. Late Wednesday night, Thursday morning. Those move into western Oklahoma in the early morning hours, and then it comes into the metro 5 a.m. on Thursday in Oklahoma City. Again, these look like the little wind makers to me on the map. So it usually means greater than 60-mile-per-hour winds, and sometimes 80 this time of the year. There's 6 a.m. There's some big storms there on Thursday. All right, those move into Dallas-Fort Worth also Thursday morning late. Then more storms continue out in western Oklahoma Thursday. We get 1-2 rounds coming in here. All right, and then by the afternoon, still some scatter stuff. So this model, bone dry almost on Wednesday, but then Katie bar the doors on Thursday, which is non-stop scatter showers and storms. Then there's that signal of a good line that comes in for Thursday evening. For Thursday night, that should transverse the region like this. Now, odds are, if we really did get all those thunderstorms here on Thursday, atmosphere would be too worked over, and so then these storms would weaken as they come into it for Thursday night. But we'll see. So there's a few different outputs as far as the data is concerned, and that's what I'm saying. It's going to be very difficult to time these because you can tell right now there was 3 different model solutions, and they're all valid models on when things start, when they end, and where they're going to be located. So bottom line is scattered showers and storms off and on throughout the next several days. If you got to get too specific, you're going to fall on your face because it's just not doable. If you look at rainfall amounts, though, widespread 2 to 3 inches, and you see like a little hint here of 4 to 5. So we'll see a few of these little isolated areas peppered around. It just kind of depends on where those big rolls of storms go over. The models won't know where to put those, but just the signal is there. So you might get some brief flash flooding and some of that. And temperatures will be kept in check because of the clouds and the rainfall in the forecast, for example. So for Wednesday, we're talking about, just like today, a lot of low 80s and upper 70s. If we head into Thursday, what we have here, we've got more 70s showing up again, if assuming it's quite wet, right? And then otherwise, maybe some 80s sneaking in there. And then we go into Friday. Let's do that. So Friday, this one didn't quite go out far enough. That's okay. We'll just do it this way. So upper 70s to low 80s here in central Oklahoma. So again, depending on how much clouds and how much rain we get as to how cooler those temperatures will be. Let's just say, for example, the models are all wrong and we get mostly sun and very little rain. Then we'll be in this category of temperatures over the next 3 days. And they'll just be flat across the board. And then as we head into next week, upper 80s start to return. Overnight lows getting that really uncomfortable range in the low 70s. Looks like it's probably a front with that pattern change of a northwest flow aloft. That will bring in some slightly cooler, drier air overnight. Otherwise, still pretty toasty and extended. But that pattern, as we head from this week on into June, is where we transition from our typical springtime dry lines moving into the west. We have all this instability around. Now we're waiting to see if the cap breaks, and then we get some thunderstorms with supercells because the wind shear is really strong, and it's very the directional shear is there. So we transition from that into a little bit of weaker shear, but a lot more turning. However, sometimes the cap is still a factor, but we end up with more of a squall line type situation where we get these storms that form off the slopes of Colorado, and then they build late afternoon, and then they come in during the evening and overnight period across Kansas and Oklahoma on down to North Texas. And so that's what we call our MCS season, which stands for Mesoscale Convective System. Those are usually the ones that have the widespread damaging winds, which can be up to 80 miles per hour or so, depending on the time they come in, especially when you get some lingering instability. Like we talked about here for Oklahoma, our best days for really crazy instability that would linger overnight to feed those storms. Thursday was a good day for instability. Next week, Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday, for example, better instability. So your magnitude of severe weather reports will increase and be more numerous than they were when you have weak instability and a strong cap overnight. So that's kind of how everything looks in this transition. Like I said, you can't rule out a freak tornado or two in these situations, but it's not one of those environments where all we're talking about is tornadoes, and any storm that develops could be tornadic. We're not talking about that in this situation, which is good. Let's see what else. And then you can get more of a QLCS type tornado season also as we go into June. So the QLCS tornadoes are along those straight line wind events, and they're little eddies, little vortices that spin up ahead of those little lines, little squall lines. And basically an updraft picks it up and then spins it, and you get yourself a little mini tornado. I call them baby tornadoes because most of them are pretty weak, EF0, EF1s. On occasion, you get one stronger. They're usually very short-lived, very transient, very difficult to detect. By the time the radar sees it, it's almost already gone. So by the time the warning comes out, it's valid for maybe a couple of minutes, or it's already ended. So it's like a whack-a-mole game, cat and mouse. So it can be frustrating for forecasters. But there was one probably in southern Rockwall. I had some friends down there. I said, "Hey man, this is a pretty good wind around here." He goes, "That's my house." I said, "Well, how does it look?" He goes, "There's down trees everywhere and sheet metal in my backyard." I said, "All right, well, that was probably QLCS tornado." Because they'd have sirens going off in Rockwall County this morning, and they lost power down there. So my aunt and everybody was calling me up. So so you can get some rough stuff in any time of the day with those type of systems. So a lot of times, just make sure you track on radar, especially if outdoor things to do or your job is outdoor related, like Ferguson Roof Systems, for example, where they'll fix your hail damage and your wind damage on your roof, because those guys will be working on the roof, right? So they got to pay attention to this pattern, because they can be dry for 6 hours and all of a sudden a lot of storms come in, then they got to scramble. So use my weather app, AT's Weather to Go. It's free. It's on Apple and Google Play. Been around since 2014. It predicts tornadoes before they even happen. It'll let you know about any dangerous storm as well approaching. I've had a lot of messages from you over the last few tornado events where it helped out your friends and family and loved ones, or even yourself, all across Oklahoma, Arkansas, the rest of the country, Virginia. So it works all across the U.S. So it'll save you, your friends, and your family, and you can always put in their address. If they don't want to put on their phone, you put on your phone. Go, "That's okay. I'm going to put your address in here, and if I see a tornado coming, I'm going to text you at 2 o'clock in the morning and wake you up." So, you can do that. I've had people do that as well. Let me think if there's anything else. I'm trying to think. Let me look at some of your questions, because I know a lot of times, I'm sorry, I can't get to your questions when we're doing all this heavy duty weather. It's just too time consuming to get it all out there, and then if I'm covering tornadoes, obviously my attention's elsewhere, so I don't get a chance sometimes to see what you have to say. So I apologize for that, but I do what I can do, and so here we got a few minutes, so I'll do this real quick before we go tonight. By the way, thank you guys for YouTube. Let's see here, for chiming in. Yeah, I don't look too far in the pattern long term. A, because I'm too busy. B, is pointless. It'll change a lot. Just so you know, a lot of the long term forecasting is just for fun. Do not try to put any money on it. Trust me, if it was that accurate, there'd be a lot of rich people out there on the long term forecasts, and there are not. They still try, but it's just one of those deals. It's weather. Come on, man. We do have our limitations, but people get paid good money to try to get any type of edge that you can, and people pay for that. Doesn't mean you're going to get it, but they'll pay for it. They keep trying. So anyway, so there you go. Zagnif Productions. Yeah, R&R. You and me, let's do this. Hopefully I'll get some here this week. Plus, I got to catch up on a lot of emails and messages you guys have sent me. I'm still trying to catch up on that stuff. Let's see. Again, thanks you guys for tuning in on Rumble and YouTube. All right, on Facebook here. Yeah, Southwest Missouri was busy too. Melinda, my app alerted you and nothing else did. Well, I'm glad it did. Hope Owaso's in the house. Well, you guys had some nasty stuff around Tulsa the other day, didn't you? That tornado over there was an EF2 and then updated to an EF3 in a few places. Let's see. And then I think also for as it moved east into Arkansas as well. And that one down in North Texas, Valley View area, that was also an EF2/EF3 tornado in different areas. Let's see. Traveling to Dallas tomorrow. All good. Sure. There'll be some storms down there probably in the morning hours. And remember we said about lunchtime, I think we said was the roughest stuff. So watch out for that. Isaac, are you still plugging the Tempest weather station? Yeah, I still have it, still use it. It's this guy right here. You can use that QR code or that promo code, TEAMAT, and you can get you a discount on it. So it's not bad. I actually have two weather stations. I have this one, and then I have a Davis Pro for the hardcore meteorologist in me. This one was fun because it's easy to set up. Anyone can do it, and it's got app information on your phone. There's plus and minuses to both ones. The ease of utility for this one is awesome. The temperature is very accurate. Plus, it's got lightning. It'll probably some of the weakness on this one is that if it's I forget, if it's a certain rain rate, it'll be a little lighter than what should have really happened. They correct it with some calibration things that they can do, and then the wind will usually be a little lighter than any other wind you get because of the nature of the sensor and how it's made. But if you put it up on your roof on a very, very high level, it'll be accurate. But if you have it kind of down low, because of all the little eddies and stuff between fences and homes, it'll be a lot lower. But that's about it. Let's see. Awesome, Jen. Appreciate you. So Chris says the EF scale needs to be changed. So just a reminder, the EF scale is a damage scale. It's not perfect, but it is what it is. As with anything, if you go and you try to change something that affects the entire database, it renders that database null and void. And we can't do that because that database goes back, 100 years or whatever. So what can you do? Well, here's the other thing that's frustrating too. Oh, Sharon says that parts of Dallas be without power for several days. Oof, gross. You guys need a generator down there. Gee whiz. Oh, man. Yeah, this time of year, if you're in without power like that, that can be problematic as far as generators go. Oklahoma, of course, we have that because we deal with ice storms a lot. And then also just because sometimes we get these types of storms, right, that can do the damage. But yeah, so if you do need a generator, you can check out Nathan Snyder Electric. They're a supporter here for AT's Weather, so they help sponsor what I do. So you can check them out. They're on Facebook, Nathan Snyder Electric. And I don't know if they'll go to North Texas, but you can ask them. I know they cover all of Oklahoma, so it doesn't hurt to ask and see what they can do for you down there. But yeah, that's always something that is needed if you've got the ability to do so. And they're coming out with a lot of cool, neat generator stuff too, from solar to standard diesel. Technology has gone a long ways when it comes to traditional power, so that's kind of neat. Let's see. Jerry says flight through DFW tomorrow. Arrive at 3:30, depart at 5:30. Odds of a delay. It should be over with by then. That's supposed to be like an earlier to midday deal, so you might be lucky. Let's see. Oh, I was going to say something earlier, then I got sidetracked about the power issue. What was it? What was I talking about? I don't know. I've slept since then. Ashley, yeah, you need to join my Facebook broadcast channel. That way you'll get notified. And that's the best way to go when when nothing else notifies you. I hear you, Melinda. No, Rona, it could just be because you have memory issues on your phone. If you have low memory, low space, that might be causing it. If you ever have any trouble with the app, the easiest thing to do, first off, make sure your phone is up to date. Make sure your phone is relatively new. Remember, the older the phone you have, the older the OS, the more stuff you have on there, we don't have any memory. That's all problematic for any app, including mine. So if you make sure all that's done, you can always reinstall it, and that usually fixes any other weird issues that sometimes happens. Good. Claremore. Hope says that the neighbors out there of Claremore have done a fantastic job helping out their neighbors, getting everything cleaned back up. So that's good. Melinda, so the tornado sirens, that's old school stuff, honestly. And we're really not supposed to be depending upon those. That was back in the day when there wasn't anything else. And honestly, sometimes those things malfunction or they don't work, and they're really not made to alert you, when you're indoors or for outdoors only. And they're really like a hey dummy, in case you haven't been paying attention and you've been under a rock. There's a tornado coming, or there's a really storm that the guys think might have one or could have one, or somebody thought they saw one. And there's no really rhyme or reason as to when they sound and when they don't. It's another tool, but it's a low-end tool. I'd use a NOAA weather radio, I'd use my app, TV, radio, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, Nicole, EF scale, that's what it was. Thanks for reminding me. Squirrel. So the EF scale is engineering. So, for example, we had a really nasty tornado in southwest Oklahoma. The radar data said it could be up at maybe even EF4. All right, now if that storm, all it's doing is just digging a hole in the dirt, guess what? Guess what rating it gets? Not an EF4. What do they find? They find some bushes. Okay, took away some bushes, and EF1. You're like, well, wait a minute, that was an EF4. Well, there was no damage, so how do we assess for that, right? So that's where you have a problem, because maybe we've had more EF4s and EF5s than we know of, but they were over open areas that didn't have any damage to affect upon, right? Didn't have anything that would hit it that an engineering survey could decipher. So that's an issue. So technically, even though it's a pretty good database, it's not complete, because there's a lot of tornadoes that happen over open fields that affect nobody, and so therefore they don't get counted, right? So that's as far as the damage rating is concerned, the accurate rating. Now we have to assume that outcome is few and far between versus the majority of them. So there's going to be a little error, a little bias in that system, but at least the system is still good enough to where when it does come into a populated area where there is structures that they can estimate wind damage on, then that can happen. Now the other flip side of that is, let's say it does do some damage in an area, but because of the placement of where the tornado was and the certain buildings or structures, maybe was off by a couple blocks, and then therefore they can't find EF4 or EF5 damage. But let's say there was a mobile radar there that sampled it low levels, a couple hundred feet off the ground, and they found wind speeds, let's say, of 250 miles an hour or something. Well, technically, that's supposed to be a very violent tornado, right? The upper end. But if there's no damage to accompany that, what do you rank it? It's a damage scale. Default back to the damage scale. So, and the other issue is these mobile radars are great, but they're university funded through grants for projects, which means they're not running 24/7 and they're not everywhere. They go out on a few weeks, a couple months of the year where they pick the most active areas to get tornadoes, and they drive right up to one and they zap it, to get the data, and they go home and they process it. So that's not a reliable, consistent method. So that's it. It's a mess. Honestly, I don't think it's going to change. We're just stuck with the damage scale, which has worked all the way up until now. There's no reason why it's not going to continue to work. It's just good to see some really cool data, very close in, so that we can learn more about tornado genesis and how they form and how they move and all that kind of stuff. So it's good for research. It just doesn't do much for practical use. Yeah, Melinda, it's in this particular case, everybody kind of has to be weather aware. And I was talking to somebody, who was it the other day? I think it was over the weekend. Oklahomans are probably the most educated, most weather aware state of any state in the country. You guys know more terminology. You know more about storm structure. You know more about forecasting. Who in the world outside of Oklahoma is ever going to mention the word cap? Probably nobody. Who's going to mention supercells and hook echoes and debris balls and shear and all that stuff? Nobody. So you guys are extremely knowledgeable, extremely intelligent. So pat yourself on the back. You can go and impress all your family at your next reunion. So there you go. All right. Yeah, there was some old school methods of forecasting, Isaac, with the animals and the critters. Still is, and you can still probably use that. We've kind of moved on to the tech world though. Now we're letting AI do it for us. We'll see how well they do. There you go. And then we were talking about models today, Christy. And yeah, when they do have a favorite weather model, that's another one. When you guys know the names of the weather models. Hey, what does the HER say today? What does the 3-kilometer NAM say? So that's cute. And for me, I really don't have a favorite one. I use them all. And then I pick whichever one or a group of ones that match what I think is going to happen based off of my education, my experience. And then I kind of, that way, because I have to show you something, right? And so I usually show you a couple of different solutions and then tell you which way I'm leaning toward or which one I like. Now, an example like tomorrow and Thursday example, unfortunately, it's a free-for-all. If I didn't have any model data at all, it wouldn't change the forecast. It'd still be the same. The models aren't that helpful in that situation. But Chris, learned a ton from you when we worked together at KOCO. I'm telling you, way back in the day. Hey, Kayla. Yeah, at least you don't have to deal with hurricanes here. Except for once. We had official tropical storm because it was an old hurricane that spun down and spun back up into tropical storm status. That was a first. Land-bearing tropical storm. Unheard of. That was nuts. I remember that. I was supposed to go on vacation. I worked at Channel 5, and I was supposed to go, I think, to Tyler for a family, and then I was told I had to stay or come back early. I can't remember. Or maybe I zipped out right before it happened. I remember I got in trouble. I was like, I was supposed to know we're going to get a hurricane in Oklahoma. It was over the summer. It's when we all split, take time off. Kimberly's going all the way back to the Channel 8 days in Tulsa. Man, I look back at some of those video snippets from way back then. Man, I was so young. I was still wet behind the ears. But what's funny is back then I thought I was it. I look back, I was like, you're so silly. But hey, when you're young and invincible, that's what happens. So then you get old and wise, and then you get cranky. Then you learn a lot. Then you start contemplating life. So that's where we're at right now. Okay, well, hey, thanks again for you guys' questions and comments and stuff. It's good chatting with you for a little bit more this time around. I didn't get a chance to do that, like I said, last really couple of weeks, just as it was so busy. But now we got a chance to do it. Mindy, good to see that there on YouTube. I wish there were more storm shelters. It's just not a thing really in most cases. It's a niche. It's a niche thing that some people want and others don't really think much about. So Jeff, yeah, those are all the social media platforms, commercial stuff that they put in on all the platforms. So that's not going away, just like commercials aren't going away on your TV that you watch. Commercials pay the bills, and remember, everything is a free product you consume. But as you know, nothing is ever really free in life. Somebody's got to pay. I pay for a lot of mine, but the platforms that use your data, they sell it, then they pay for it. And they show you commercials, and they pay for it. So, yeah, just keep that in mind, man. There's no getting away from it. Let's see. And, for example, I could do... I could change everything I do here to all private, in other words, where you could only access what I do if you paid for it. Do you know the minute I try that, it would be total anarchy. You guys would lose your mind. And then I'd probably have about 1,000 of you be willing to pay, and the other 149,000 to say, I'm going somewhere else. I'll watch those commercials. See what I'm saying? Everybody likes free, so it is what it is. So I got to work with the system that I'm given. All right, well, that's it for me. I think I'm gonna get out of here, but I appreciate you guys tuning in tonight, and we'll take like each one of these day by day. I may not all do lives, may just be quick posts or something. Just depends on what I'm doing. Like I said, I'm trying to get caught up on a lot of stuff, but we'll just kind of keep tabs on the weather for you. But enjoy it. If you just get some decent rain, that's it. Hey, your flower beds will like it. Garden beds will like it. I know Jody's will. She's got a lot going on out there. Just planting some more. She's planting some spinach today. So I said, give me some leaf lettuce. All right, you guys have a good night, and we will talk again tomorrow. See you later. Good night.